Ping.
Pong,
Con.
Guido Alfani.
Professor Alfani, world expert in econ history, one of the leading scholars. But not only in plagues, he is the expert. During COVID, everyone was like, please, please, please come on my talk show. Please come on my think tank. We need your opinions. Still now, politicians and policymakers are trying to get Alfani. No, my schedule's really busy. What are you busy with? You're busy with explaining best students, the story, a little extract of the history of Milan. Would you like to begin?
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry,
A little bit of the history of Milan, because Milan is a very ancient city. It was a big city already in Roman times, till the very end of the Roman Empire, in fact. But right now, we are, in fact, not very far from Bocconi University. We are at Porta Romana, where we have the main surviving section of the Spanish walls, not the Roman walls that you might think, because Milan in Roman times and also in medieval times was much smaller than in Spanish times. So when the Spanish take over the city in the early 16th century, they realized that if they want to defend it, they need much bigger walls encompassing all this area, which are spread beyond the medieval walls, right? Because the original Roman walls had been destroyed by Friedrich Redbeard, Barbarossa, and then Milan had to rebuild them after,
yes,
in the Middle Ages. But now they were too small, so the Spanish wanted to protect this city, which was very wealthy and also strategically very very important, right? And they did a huge investment. So beginning in 1548 to 1562, they had these walls erected. At the end, they encompassed the wall of the city, which existed at the time, and it was like 11 kilometers of walls. In that moment, it was the longest urban wall in Europe. So it was really impressive, a huge investment. And why were they willing to put so much money in Milan? Because again, Milan was precious, it was wealthy, so they could, exploit it in some sense. But they weren't really interested in exploiting Milan. Milan was important to them.
Yes.
It came to be known as the corazon della monarchia, the heart of the monarchy, because of its significance and its strategic position. Milan was basically conceived as the place where the Spanish were defending the wall of their domains in Italy, and it was also very important in the Spanish path connecting basically the Mediterranean area with the north of Europe. So they had to send their troops by foot to North Europe to fight in the many wars they were fighting, and they were moving through Milan, and in Milan they were provisioning them. And that's also why throughout the early modern period we have this very important weapons industry in Milan. Milan specialized, for example, in the building of armor, right? So it was also good for the city, right? We tend to think poorly of the Spanish period in Italy because of Manzoni, the Betrothed, the Risorgimento tradition, and there were also, of course, very dark sides to that story. But it's also true that for the city specifically, it wasn't a bad position, really. They were receiving a lot of financial help to perform this position of the key in the defense of the Italian domains, to the point that they were getting taxes directly from the Kingdom of Naples, another Italian domains, to Milan. So there was a direct transfer of money from the south to the north in this period. It was
Already.
It's
Already.
well, it's the opposite now, frankly. But
Yes.
this is something very few people really know.
Yes. Thank you very much. I have a question on the return of investment on the walls. I'm skipping a couple centuries, but considering this man over here managed to let's say, enjoy Milan, do you think it was a good ROI on the walls?
So Napoleon, you mean?
Yes.
Well, in Napoleon, I mean, if we talk about the walls specifically, in Napoleon's times, they were no longer very important as a defensive structure. And this is because in the middle of the 18th century, from circa 1750, they had mostly been transformed into a public park. So on top of the ramparts, they planted trees, and it was a public walkway. So there are tourist guides from the 18th century which highlight the walk on the ramparts as one of the things to do in Milan, right? And from all this walk you could see the dome, and it was very beautiful apparently. So they weren't important for as a defensive structure anymore. They were something used in a very different way. If you want to see something similar to what I think was the Spanish Wall in the 18th century, you can go to Lucca, another Italian.
I've driven past. My mom's driven past it, not me.
Okay, so exactly in that period they were transformed into park for the, for the population of the city, and they're still surviving today. They are very beautiful, which means it is really a shame that the Spanish walls were destroyed in the end.
And why were they destroyed?
Well, they were destroyed from the last decades of the 19th. Well, some sections were destroyed from the beginning of the 19th century. Then, especially from the 1880s, there was this new urban plan, which basically was planning the expansion of the city. So Milan had been growing very quickly. Let's say that at the beginning of the 19th century, it had maybe 125,000 inhabitants. At national unification, 1861, it had maybe about 150,000, but more than that, about 200,000 in fact, 1861. But in 1901, when we have a census, it had almost 500,000 inhabitants, right? And it had been growing very, 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 very quickly in this period. And then the point is also that it was a city that in the late 19th century was fully involved in the Industrial Revolution. It's one of the focal points of the industrialization of Italy, which begins in the northwest. The triangle is Turin, Milan, and then the big harbor of Genoa, basically. That's the area. And then the idea was back then that the city had to grow and that the walls were an impediment to mobility of people, of goods, and even maybe of ideas. There was a bit of ideology there. In the case of Milan, actually, the city was really growing very quickly, so it was true. But there are many other cities in Italy, like the town I come from, which is Ivrea, which is small. It's a very nice walls, right? And the point is, they destroyed them because they thought, we need to grow, and then they didn't, right? So many of these places destroyed the walls, they remain small. If they hadn't destroyed the walls, now they would be very important touristic destinations because the walls were beautiful. So, that's the sad story. And most of them, and what was left in the end disappeared in the first part of the 20th century. So.
Okay. I have a question on the languages side because lei parla italiano. She speaks English. Vous parlez aussi français.
Oui, bien sûr.
Est-ce que vous avez un commentaire pour les Français sur l'histoire de Milan, l'histoire française qui a... Qu'en pensez-vous des Français à Milan?
Ah ouais. Alors, il y a été une période au début du XVIe siècle pendant laquelle l'État de Milan était bien sûr disputé entre les Espagnols et les Françaises. À la fin, les Français ont perdu. Ils ont invité, Charles VIII de France était invité en 494 en Italie par les ducs de Milan, Ludovic le Mort. Et on connaît l'histoire. Il est allé au sud pour acquérir les royaumes de Naples, mais après il a une alliance des États italiens l'a fait fuir, inclus Ludovic le Mort, parce que bien sûr les Italiens étaient un peu infiables, disons. Et c'est le début d'une histoire qui termine à la fin avec, pour l'État de Milan, la victoire finale des Espagnols, qui deviennent les grands puissances militaires en Italie à partir de la moitié du 16e et jusqu'à la fin, jusqu'au début du 18e. En fait.
Merci beaucoup. Est-ce que vous voulez aller visiter Porta Romana ou Porte Espagnole? On va découvrir le vrai nom. Pendant qu'on venait ici, vous me disiez aussi que vous parlez espagnol. Alors vous parlez italien, français, anglais, habla espagnol.
Hablo español, sí, sin problemas.
Sin problemas. Yo no hablo español. ¿Habla altre lingue?
Ich kann Deutsch sprechen, ein bisschen, nur ein bisschen.
Ich spreche keine Deutsch, mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut. Nein, Deutsch bitte, nein. English, let's go back to English. So, you were telling us that it's a bit of a catfish, it's not actually Porta Romana. Would you like to elaborate?
It's actually Porta Romana, but not because it's Roman, right? It's the direction of Rome. This is also a door which was built by the Spanish later than the wall. It was built in the wall, so the wall went in this direction.
Yes.
But this was built later, 1596, and I think, and it was built to celebrate the arrival in Milan of the fiancée of Philip III of Spain,
Yes.
on her route to Spain. In fact, she would have finished her trip by sea, actually. So it was Margherita from Austria, basically. So they built this in a kind of Roman style, a classic style, to celebrate this event. And the doors also survive, most of them, from the Spanish period, because they were beautiful. So we can see many of the doors. But it's actually the direction of Rome. It's not a Roman door. Because the Roman door, the original one, which didn't survive, is much further towards the center.
Okay.
Because the Roman walls were much smaller than the Spanish walls.
Okay, thank you very much. And I mean, final question from everyone. 25th of November, Best Gala. Can you make it?
I'm sorry, I'll be abroad that day. I'm so sorry. My apologies.
No need for the video anymore.